All right, good morning and welcome to episode 45 of the Linking into Sales podcast. I am here today with Jeff, pronounce your last name for me, Jeff.
Zelaya.
Zelaya, okay, I won't forget that next time. All right, so Jeff Zelaya with Triblio, and we got Martin Brossman here too, thankfully to help us out with talking to this guy, drilling him, and find out what he knows about social selling. So, very good. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeff.
Well, it's a pleasure, Greg and Martin, to be on your show. I've heard a lot of great things about linking into sales and followed some of your earlier episodes. And man, number 45, wow, that's
Yeah.
that's impressive. And I'm very excited to see how social selling has evolved and is just growing in popularity. And there's just so much information out there, I believe, about social selling. And for me, it actually started, the journey in social selling started when I graduated from college and I got my first job in sales. And I started with really, hey, this is working for an ad agency, and had the goal of going after Fortune 1000 companies with no incoming leads, no names on my desk, pretty much just, hey, go out and close some business. And for me, it was just kind of a natural step to use social media as a way of connecting with people, as a way of building my network, as a way of meeting Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 executives and starting dialogue, starting conversations. And at the time, it really, for me, it wasn't social selling. But now, after seeing where the industry is at, it was a social selling. And I've been able to use LinkedIn as a primary way of driving business. And reached $1.2 million in new business within 18 months just by using LinkedIn on its own. So from there, I started teaching other people how to do it, going and talking to businesses about how to use social media to gain new clients, to gain awareness, to gain better customer service. And now I'm working for Triblio. So I'm actually working for a company that is promoting social selling, and we have a tool that is focused on content and on making sure that the sales reps have the best content to share with their prospects, with the new leads that they're trying to generate, and to be able to measure finally the ROI of social selling. So we know that content is a currency for the modern salesperson. Joe Raleigh says that quite a bit, and that's our focus. That's what we're doing. So that's a little background on my journey and where I'm at today. And I'm still very, very actively using social selling to get those conversations about Triblio, to let people know what it is that we do. So I'm learning every day. We learn something new about our industry.
All right, well, very good. I've had a chance to kind of take a quick look at your software there, and we're actually probably going to end up go ahead with a full demo and see what you guys are up to, because we know that content is pretty critical, especially with today and the buyer's journey and understanding actually the buyer's behavior and that changing from people going online and looking for content. Having salespeople there with content seems to be the right thing to do to kind of hook folks in, I guess, would be not like in the bait and switch sense, but basically get people aware of what's going on with that particular organization, and do they have a tool that they can use in order to maximize sales or fix other issues or whatever it may be. So I understand content is critical, and if anybody listens to the intro of the show, they know how important content is to the social seller. So
yes, I mean, it's amazing. I was looking at some of the stats around social selling, and the average person, before they reach out and put their hand out and say, hey, let me talk to sales, they consume 5 different pieces of content. So buyers, like you said, the journey has changed. They're seeking information either through Google, through their Twitter, through their Facebook, by joining different LinkedIn groups. They're becoming very educated in the space before finally saying, okay, great, let me talk to sales, let me get a demo, let me know more about your product. So I think it's becoming critical for the sales rep to become the go-to person for content in their industry. And you do that, of course, by creating content, right? By you becoming a thought leader and writing nice articles and using LinkedIn Publisher to get out important information, but also by curating content from other folks that are influential and using their influence, getting that influence to rub off on you by you being the center of the content that your prospects are finding and consuming. So yeah, I mean, content definitely is content is still king.
Content is king, and that leads to revenue, at least hopefully. And you actually make a really good point about how content is, even critical for, for or at least other people's content. Yesterday we talked with Kevin Thomas Tully of Sales for Life, and he had mentioned that how important how important content is to the sales process. But the way you kind of describe this, it sounds like that. It's almost like the salesperson has to be the connector when you look at professional networking per se, that they're the ones that people go to for that resource to get answers to things, and the salesperson is actually kind of helping route where people should be going. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I agree. I think what you want to do is just like in networking. If you're the person that is constantly meeting people and seeking to create new relationships, you get known for that. And then people come to you and say, hey, Greg, I know you're a networker. Do you know someone that does this? Can you refer me to someone that does that? So you become that center of influence for individuals. I think the same thing is true for content. If you become as the go-to person for content in your industry, they're going to be looking at you for the latest articles. Hey, do you have any white papers that provide insight on this particular product? Do you know how this industry is changing? Can you give me insight on this? Do you have any educational materials or any webinars coming up where I could go to learn more about this particular industry or this particular product set? So if you become that person that's constantly sharing that information, you become an influence. You become an influencer. And it doesn't always have to be content of your own company, right? It could be content, hey, go to this webinar that someone else is putting together, but I think what you're going to gain valuable insight that's going to help you make a decision about buying my product if you go to that, right? That's kind of the mentality that you have when you're inviting people to different webinars or sharing different articles with them that are of value. And you decide, I think part of deciding what content to provide that's a struggle for people. Like, how do I know what to share with my prospects? Well, I think the number one way to know what to share with them is by asking the right questions, right? And in the discovery conversation, you're going to find out, what's that prospect's interests? What are their goals? What are they looking to do? And it's not always content about what you're selling. Provide them content that's going to help them fix problems that they have. They might not be totally related at all with what you do and sell, but if they're going to help them in some kind of way, I want to do that for my prospect. I want to provide them value. I want to be their problem solver, because when that issue comes up of whatever it is, the product that I sell, they're going to think of me first because they know, hey, Jeff is very helpful. Jeff knows who to go to and the people that are influential in this industry and that can provide me valuable information. I'm going to go and ask Jeff, and then that's another touch point for me to then have dialogue with that prospect and to possibly get them to buy what it is that I'm selling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Well, it looks like we lost Martin. I think the coffee shop bandwidth they lost some caffeine. But so let's why don't we talk for a second about how how you guys are helping as far as with content per se, and then what we'll do is we'll get into that that blog post that you had mentioned with all the social tools in there. But
Sure.
Specifically, how do you guys actually help sales folks with content?
Sure. So the place that we start is content curation. So what Triblio does is we get to know the buyer better. We get to know the buyer personas. And I'll use my case as an example. I'm looking to have conversations with CMOs. I'm looking to have conversations with content marketing managers. Those two people aren't necessarily interested in the same type of content. The CEO is more focused on ROI. They're more focused on cutting costs. They're more focused on strategy. The content marketing manager is interested in social media. They're interested in different channels that they could use to get their content out. They're looking to spend less time creating content. They're looking for content that's going to get tweeted and shared and get backlinks. So they're interested in two different types of content. I plug that information into Triblio. I say, look, I'm trying to reach out to the content marketing manager. I'm trying to reach out to the CEO or C-level executive. And Triblio starts plugging out different publications that those type of buyer personas are interested in. So the CEO, maybe they're looking at Fortune magazine, they're looking at Wall Street Journal. the content marketing manager, they're looking at Mashable, they're looking at Social Media Examiner, they're looking at Content Marketing Institute, right? Those are the places that they go to get their information. So that Triblio calculates that. Triblio also looks at their influencers, whereas the CMO, CEO, maybe the Jack Welch is one of their influencers. Maybe Beth Comstock, CMO at GE, that's one of their influencers. Whereas the content marketing manager is looking at like Joe Paluzzi or Ann Handley. So they're looking to have different sets of influencers. So Triblio calculates all this information and then produces a content stream based on that persona. So now the salespeople are going to get that stream available to them. The salespeople are going to know if you're looking to reach out to the CMO, that's the person you're having a conversation with. This is the content that you should be sharing with them that's going to help push them in that buyer's journey, or not even that. It's just going to give them information that they're looking for. And before it gets to the sales team, now the marketing team could also curate that content and say, hey, sales team, instead of sharing all this great stuff, how about sharing these 3-4 different pieces that are really going to resonate with our company and what we do? And in that same on that same platform, also put in 3 pieces of content that our company has produced that goes along with that same buyer persona. And that will go out to the sales team. Every morning the sales team gets an email where in that same email they're just going to be able to click tweet, LinkedIn share, post to Facebook. They're going to be able to put that into their queue to go out on their social networks. And then Triblio is able to then monitor and measure how that sales team is doing with getting that message out. We're going to be able to look at the awareness that is being created from that social selling initiative, but also, this is the biggest part for me, they're going to be able to measure the actual conversions and then tie those conversions into revenue and then figure out, based on the content that you're sharing, this sales rep has produced 5 new leads this week. The sales rep has also nurtured these 3 accounts that have turned into these 3 deals and X amount of revenue. So now we're able to look at that full picture, whereas before, most social selling teams just measure it based on, oh, we got 10 more followers on Twitter. Great. You know, hurrah for you. What does that mean for my revenue, right? What does that mean for our lead generation? Now, with Triblio, we're able to actually see that and measure that down to the sales rep that's driving that effort.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, Martin, you got anything? You got any questions out there?
Yeah, I sure do. I love how you customize the content for the different levels, and because everyone not only wants different content at different process in the sales funnel or sales cycle, but they also different levels are looking for different types of. So my question is, how do you dynamically make sure you've got the best data coming in of what type of content they want? Because you really need every ear in the field, every eyeball looking for that and feeding it back, so that you stay in tune with what the needs are. How do you keep those ears open? Or is one way to put it.
So there's a couple different ways to do that. Number one, we are constantly updating our information and our sources, right? So we're looking at Twitter, we're looking at LinkedIn, we're looking at news, we're looking at web. So different flows of information are coming into Triblio, but we're also counting on our sales team to have that dialogue with their prospects and to get feedback from their prospects to say, hey, this information is of value, or this information is not of value. Or the sales team could look at what the competitor is doing, right? Or maybe in one of their conversations, one of their prospects say, hey, the competitor did this really awesome comparison chart or this awesome blog post. Do you guys have anything like that? And if the answer is no, then what that salesperson will do is then let the marketing team know right through Triblio, post that piece of content to a board that the marketing team that's using Triblio will be able to see and hopefully use that input to provide content that's going to better help the sales team out. So I think you need your guys in the field providing you feedback, right, letting you know what type of content to create. We're also going to have our different streams of content already coming in that's being provided by the social media conversations, that's being provided by the media conversations. So different touch points will help us figure out what the best content is. But I think the bottom line is in seeing kind of how that is going to grow over time. So where are we starting at now, using that as a benchmark for how our awareness is growing over time and how our leads are growing over time. And if we see growth in those areas, then guess what? Our content marketing is working. here are the numbers to back that up. And if it's not going in the upward direction, then we got to start taking a look at why that's the case. But so far, all our clients are seeing a lot of jumps in their content marketing effectiveness. They're getting more awareness, they're driving more leads, and that's leading to more deals being closed because of the way that they're able to now produce content for their sales teams.
There's two things I heard there that's really important, and that's making sure to train the sales team to know this is a back and forth relationship. In the world I grew up in, traditionally it was more like, a war between the two where marketing pushed things to sales, and then there really was not a lot of faith that data was coming back if you talk to the two of them. Now what you're bringing up is you've got to have that dialogue between, because they're the troops in the ground at the front line going, hey, they got snipers over here. We need to know, we need some other information and data. And I think that's an important piece is building the sales culture where you go, now marketing and stuff, you guys have to get along. We have to share this data and work together right from the start. Is that what you experienced?
Mari, you nailed it. Most of the organizations that I worked at in the past have had that wall up between marketing and sales. And it's like almost like we weren't on the same team. Like we were working for different companies, it seemed like. And in this day and age, you can no longer have that. Salespeople have to think like mini marketers, and the marketing team needs to think like sales. And that wall needs to come down. So Triblio, I think, is a step in that direction and helping bring that wall down by facilitating communication between marketing and sales and letting the marketing team know what the sales is doing, how they're using the content, and then letting the sales team tell the marketing, hey, they got snipers out there. Go out and build us some better snipers. Here's a sample that I have. So it's allowing that communication to happen in one place and then being able to measure all of it, which is key, right? Because nowadays marketing could give content for the sales team to share, but if the marketing team can't provide metrics and let the sales team know how that's working to drive leads, which is what the sales team cares about, and helping them drive more revenue, the sales team is not going to actively share that content. So if the marketing team can now go to the sales team and provide a leaderboard and show, hey, here's how the sales team is doing in terms of sharing. Here's all the guys that are getting the most retweets, that are getting the most LinkedIn shares, and wow, look at their revenue. It's also the highest. Now this marketing team could provide that information to the sales team, which is going to give the guys more competitiveness to be more active with their social sharing, with building their personal brand, etc. But I think that's the direction we're going in, and bringing that wall down.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. So let's talk about your the blog post there real quick. And you had a number of tools on there that social sellers can use. Everything from content marketing tools to social media management tools and things like that. If you would go ahead and bring up the blog post there with the screen share. And for those that are listening on the audio podcast, check the links in the show notes at linkingintosales.com, and you'll be able to get a link directly to the blog post from our post. But yeah, let's go ahead and bring that up and take a look.
All right, let me pull this up. So I created this because I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Conversation Prism, which was developed by Brian Solis several years ago, and there's been different rehash of this, basically looking at the landscape for all the social media tools out there. So inspired by that, I was like, hey, there hasn't been anything created to show the landscape for social selling and all the different tools that a social selling team could use to drive revenue and to do different things to facilitate their sales process. So that was the inspiration for this graph right here. I'm going to share my screen now so we could see it.
And there's got to be, probably about 40 or 50 tools on there, right?
Yeah, so there's 15 categories and a total of 52 tools. So are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so the way that I broke this up, in the middle is the sales rep, and they're using these tools to have conversations with their prospects and to turn those conversations into revenue. The way that I think about Sales 2.0 or social selling is in three tiers or three pillars of social selling. We've got content, which we talked about how important content is. We've got engagement, right, which is what you're using these tools for, to create engagement with your prospects. And then the other one is technology. So that's what we're looking at on this picture. It's different technology that's out there for you to be better, more effective with your sales, to spend less time doing research, to have the right intelligence to know what accounts to go after. So these tools help out with those different parts. So we have the platform, which is really where social selling, for most of people, that's what they think about. They think about LinkedIn, they think about Twitter and Google Plus and Facebook. So these are platforms that are out there that you could use now for social selling. But as you become more savvy and start getting results with these platforms, you realize, hey, I got to figure out a way to manage all these different things a lot better, right? Just going to LinkedIn and then going to Twitter, and it's not a good use of my time. So management tools like Hootsuite exist, and Sprout Social, and TweetDeck, and Buffer, which help you. On Mondays I come in, I look at different content pieces, I put that into Buffer. Buffer will then schedule it for it to go out. Hootsuite lets me update to different platforms at different times. So you want to have a place to manage your social media outreach. And then more advanced social sellers are using automation as well. So a platform like Socito is awesome. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Socito, but what it does, it basically helps me identify the right prospects to follow on Twitter. And then it starts engaging with them. It starts favoring their tweets. It starts following them back. If they follow me back, it will send them a message, a direct message that's contextual based on the reason I follow them in the first place. And it helps measure. You could have it send a LinkedIn invite to that person that you follow on Twitter within an hour after following them on Twitter. So it helps automate some of the steps that social selling that are involved in social selling, so you can spend more time on the actual human touch, right? So it automates the following and the following back and all those things. And a lot of these do the same thing. Then you got influencer identification. So finding the right people to follow on Twitter that are influential, right? Little Bird and Clout help me identify, okay, this person, I should build a good relationship with them, because even if they can't buy my product, they can still tell people about it. And since they're very influential, they're going to probably drive me some prospects and get me some attention my way. So you have those tools. And you have curation. Triblio falls into that. But you also have Karada and Scoop It and Content Gems, which do a great job of curating content. Then a salesperson lives and dies by their CRM, making sure that they stay organized, making sure that they have their contact information there. And we've got Salesforce, which is kind of the best known in the industry, but Nimble is also making some great strides and becoming well known for becoming like a social powered CRM. Then you got Pipeliner, which is also focused on very sales oriented teams. Then Zoho, and then tracking is up and coming section, where we got HubSpot Signals doing a fantastic job in letting me know when prospects are opening up my emails. How cool is that? I send out an email, I know immediately if the prospect opened it up, if they click the link. They can no longer lie to me and say, hey, Jeff, we never got the proposal. You liar, I saw you received it. I don't tell them that. But I know they got it, right? And then at that point, if they're not interested, because if they're just BSing you or they're actually engaged. And then I could also know when to follow up based on when they're forwarding my email to other people. So if maybe that client or that prospect goes dormant, and then 2 weeks later, all of a sudden I see a bunch of activity with the email I sent them, then I know, wow, they're probably re-looking at this, right? They forgot about this, put it on the back burner. Now it's starting to become top of mind for them again. So I would follow up, pick up the phone, give them a phone call, and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. And they're like, well, we were thinking about you too. Wow, what are the odds of that? So it starts those conversations again. So these are some great apps to do that. And you got Meeting, right? We have GoToMeeting. Google Plus is also a meeting tool. And you got Time Trade, which helps us organize instead of the back and forth. Oh, are you available at this time? No, but can you do this time? No, I can't. Let's do this time. Time Trade just eliminates all those back and forth, helps you map out your calendar a lot better. And then the intelligence tools. We've got Kite Desk and SalesLoft. SalesLoft, with one click, I could add intelligence and contact information right to my Salesforce. Kite Desk helps me look at all the ways that I'm connected with the prospect and the ways that my network could help me get my foot in the door into that account. So a lot of great intelligence tools. You got eSignature, which helps me get deals signed today. Who has a fax machine anymore, Greg? Do you have a fax machine?
No, I don't. Well, I do, but I don't have a phone line anymore. So
You got to print it, you got to make a copy, you got to sign
yeah,
it, go fax. It's a pain in the butt. I don't have to worry about that for getting deals signed. I send over the DocuSign. With one click, you could sign my agreement. There's no excuse anymore and no delays. We could get that deal in today.
right.
And then you got your presentation tools. So SlideShare is great. Send that over to a client. You could actually see how they interact with those slides. Clear Slide, BrainShark, Prezi. Great way to do presentations. And then marketing is tied into that, right? Knowing how Marketo works, how HubSpot, Eloqua works, Focus. These are all marketing automation tools. Even though they're outside of the scope for sales, I still think it's important for salespeople to know how these tools work, because more than likely they're probably getting leads from these marketing automation tools or having their accounts nurtured through these tools. So you have to become familiar with that. And then mobile, right? The world is shifting to a mobile world, and we live and breathe with our iPhone in our hand or our Android device. And these are great apps that you could have on your phone that will help you with social selling. One of them is LinkedIn Connected, which I love, because every morning I wake up and it gives me messages or alerts of people that I should be sending messages to because it's their birthday today, or because they just got promoted, or because they got a new job. Awesome. I go ahead and stay in touch with them, a couple clicks, and I send these touches to my network and help. I become top of mind for them. And I'm here whenever there's a need, and they know what I do. They are aware of my services. It gives me opportunities to engage with them.
I noticed that when I was taking in and well, yesterday was my birthday, and I ended up getting a whole bunch of messages through through LinkedIn, and I was some of the signatures that were coming across in there said using the LinkedIn Connect app, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm on Android, so unfortunately I haven't been able to take and use that app yet, but because I know it's only available on iOS, but I'm still relying on the emails that they send me all the time. So
Yep. Happy birthday, by the way, Greg.
thank you, appreciate it.
Look, Martin, bake you a cake and all.
Oh, thanks, Martin. So, well, that whole pinwheel, I guess, of all the apps in there. I mean, there's a lot of great, 60 tools inside there that are awesome. Some of them I've used. They're some of them I actually just hearing about for the first time. So, I'm sure with a lot of other folks that are in sales or in doing marketing and sales or social selling and things like that, they're going to really appreciate actually having a resource like that to go to say, hey, I need a tool for getting signatures. Which one should I evaluate? And you have it there. So it's a great way to actually provide value when it really doesn't specifically have to do with what you guys do, because it's not really your job to go out there and recommend these tools to clients, but they are going to have these kind of questions that having your salespeople prepared with an answer, saying, "Oh yeah, no, we've taken a look at this and used this. We've found it to be successful here. Here's some weaknesses. Well, whatever the case may be, but you got to decide. But I just want to make you aware of this tool." So I think that's an excellent strategy on your guys' part, especially from a social selling standpoint.
Thank you, Greg. And that's why we create content. I think our goal is always to help people out, and as we help people out, they'll look for a way to reciprocate that. And they're like, hey, what is it that you guys do? Oh, you do this? Great. Actually, I know someone that would be perfect for that. So it's just becoming valuable to people, and you'll get value in return. And that's kind of been our train of thought, and it's working out so far. So we're very happy for your feedback. Thank you.
Just to give a side note, I just met before this hangout somebody who was looking for a certain unique marketing company, and that would do certain video, local done, and so forth. And I looked them up on LinkedIn, and I had met them in the coffee shop, and they really didn't use LinkedIn much, and I couldn't find them. So I referred to other people. So again, making sure you have all your content out there as well and information, because I just drew a blank on their name. I was looking at the topic, and because they don't have a good profile, they just lost an opportunity for a referral, And I went, I'll find somebody. And that's what you're saying. Jeff, we realize that as networkers, we're looking for ways to help connect people, because that's another way we're going to be add value and remember too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And need to have that content. They've got a good LinkedIn profile. I just shared your article in the list area so that people could see it with the wonderful wheel.
Excellent. Thank you.
So that's good. Well, Greg, what else do you got? We've covered a lot of material so far. This has been very of the show.
Well, sure. So let me ask you this, Jeff. I mean, what do you think how do you think you see social selling kind of evolving over the next 6 to 12 months? What's your impression so far?
So my theory or my vision for what's going to happen, it's going to be similar to what happened with social media and marketing. Before it was like two different things, right? Social media, marketing. Now marketing social media is part of marketing. You can't think of marketing without thinking of social media as part of what you're going to do with marketing. So I think social selling, the same thing's going to happen. When you think sales, it's not just sales and social selling. Sales, you got to think of social selling in sales. So it's just becoming part. Social selling will not be separate, but it will be part of sales. So sales as a whole is going to be evolving, and I don't think the evolution of sales. People think, oh, no more cold calling. Well, I mean, that's not necessarily the case. You still got to pick up the phone. You can't close deals through Twitter. Not yet. Maybe one day you can. But you still got to do the phone. You still got to do some of the traditional selling methods. But I think people will now become more savvy with how to use social media to assist in their prospecting, to assist in helping them close out deals. And then buyers are going to also become more receptive to it as well. So I just think we'll see more organizations really use social media as a way of starting those relationships, as a way of prospecting, and hopefully that will cut down on the cold calling. Right, more of the calls you'll be doing are warm calls or inbound leads or leads that you've sourced through social media, as opposed to having to interrupt people's day through a series of phone calls. And we're actually carrying out an experiment right now here at Triblio. We're doing one team that only does cold call, one team that only does social selling. So, and then at the end of the quarter, we're going to measure the results. We're measuring it as we go, but we're going to do a case study to share with the audience or people like you how each of those groups did. So, the group that only did cold calling, how did they do? How many demos did they set? How much revenue did they close? And then the team that did social selling, what's going to be their results. So I'm curious myself to see how it pans out. But I'll give you a little hint so far, a little teaser. Social selling so far is ahead.
well, that's great because I'm excited to hear that because it's we're definitely going to have you back on at the after the end of the quarter. Yep. And you guys are you're good for sharing some of those results. Obviously not all of them, but it'll be great to have you back on to share that experience and to see how much better you guys did with social selling. I've been talking with a few sales teams and they're curious about how do you implement social selling into a sales organization that's traditionally done cold calling, and I think you guys actually have kind of nailed it with the right approach. Have a social selling team, have a cold calling team, and let them run against each other and see who wins. I think that's perfect, and that fits the sales mentality great.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree entirely. That was excellent.
Great. So, I think Martin, you got anything else?
No, I'm full. This was really very generous of you, Jeff. I loved the topic because it's something you always want to think about in review. That idea of the content for the different levels, not just the content for the different stages they're in the sales process. Whether before they know they need you, when they start realizing they need something like you, and so forth, but also who are the different people in the agencies and what different level of content. I want to reiterate, I think that's a real important piece that you're doing. And then also reiterating the competitive advantages, the sales and marketing that works together. So you have a in-the-world type feedback loop, that's doing it. And 7 years in a very large company with 3 names, I remember thinking in the field, if they only knew what the customer says, they might be designing what they want, Yeah. And the good news is you can't afford to just use market reality because you didn't pay attention to the customer. And I think, Microsoft's learning a painful lesson of missing also the educational stage with their product. They have a new product, but they didn't get the old guys over to it, so that it's costing them dearly in the after effect. That could have been probably solved with social selling.
Are you talking about Windows 8?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the don't know to understand the platform go, it's a pretty good platform. But my gosh, they didn't court us. You know what I'd say is the old 40 crowd. You didn't court us to this new chiclet system. You know,
Hmm.
and I bet there are a lot of salespeople in the field would go, I could have told them that wouldn't go over well. You know, Jeff, and that's just to me an example of a big fail without communication happening. That has to be made up by writing big checks.
Yeah.
So that's what I have. Jeff, great to connect. I've sent you an invite on LinkedIn as well, and shared your content. And I want to personally thank you for being on our show. Greg and I are really committed to keep getting leaders in the field on this and offering it in our own training. So
Thank you,
Yeah.
man.
that's all I have.
Yeah, very good, and thank you very much, Jeff. I think that I'm excited to talk with startups as well that are kind of addressing the problems that we all have around, with content or anything else out there that the bigger existing companies just can't seem to solve. So, and I got a passion for startups, so I really appreciate you coming on, taking some time. I know you guys are busy over there, so I'm gonna let you go, let you get back to work. But if they wanted to learn more about you, I see you have down in your lower third there the web address for them to check it out. But just for the sake of the audio podcast, go out to triblio.com, triblio.com, to go learn more about what Triblio has to do with content and how they can help you in business to business or business to consumer sales teams out there.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed our time today, and thank you for having me.
All right, very good.
Yeah, we'll get you back on again. Great.
All right, well, this wraps up the Linking into Sales podcast, episode number 45. And don't forget to you can take and find us on LinkedIn. Go out to search for Linking into Sales, follow our company page, join our group, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player FM, and also come out and check out the blog, subscribe to our email, and just be awesome. So, but you've been listening. Go ahead.
I just have to say they can also bring us in to talk and train too, so we have that as well. So good.
Yep.
Go ahead, Greg.
All right, yeah, absolutely. If you're in the Triangle area, we'd be happy to come in and talk with you, or anywhere in North Carolina. But anyways, so this wraps up our latest episode of Linking into Sales. You've been watching Linking into Sales using social media to support the sales cycle.